So you've seen a million videos on color theory and how to form a palette, but still when you try to apply all that knowledge into your artwork, you don't get the results that you want. Well, I'm about to show you how to change that so you don't have to worry ever again about that problem. So you can go from something like this to something like this, or this, or this, or this. Although, I must warn you that you may not approve initially of what I'm about to propose. But I'm also going to explain to you not only why you must do this, but also why it is necessary for you in order to learn how to create a color palette. So trust me when I tell you that this will take your artwork to another level. You're going to steal a color palette. Of course you're going to steal them. Think about your favorite artist ever. Do you think that artist came up with that color palette? Unless you're thinking about Degas or Monet or some impressionist artist, every other artist has stolen the color palette from another painting. Even if you're thinking about some crazy color combination that you can't find in nature, there's a very big chance that concretist artists from the 70s actually created them. And the 70s was 50 years ago. So it has been decades, if not hundreds of years, that artists have been taking color palettes from each other. So why shouldn't you? Just do it. And I'm going to show you how. Because there was a time where in order to steal a color palette, you had to do a master study from a painting that you liked. But now you can just press a few buttons and get it done. So let's just do that. So watch this video. Take note. But also keep watching because I need the engagement, okay? Okay, let's go to the screen. Up. So initially I had this idea for an illustration. I wanted to have a Red Riding Hood kind of character in the woods, but the shape of the trees created the shape of the wolf in a negative space. I tried a few sketches and I was happy with this one here. And what I did later was just color it in the same way that I usually color my illustrations. So it looks like this. I liked it. It's okay. I like it, but it can be so much better. So I did some research and I picked up a lot of images that either happened in some sort of forest or just had a color palette that I liked a lot. There's a lot from Kim Smith, there's a lot from Easy Burton, and there's a lot from other artists that I don't know their names, but I like these illustrations very much. So I have my image. And I want to try this again, this time with a stolen palette. So the first one I chose was this image. Because I mean, come on, it happens in a forest, there's someone dressed in red, there's a big wolf in the background. Is it a dragon? It's a wolf? I don't know. Now, this is the part where I'm going to show you how to take the palette from the image. So first, you're going to put the image you're interested in a separate layer. Then you're going to go to Windows, Libraries. I already have my library window right here. You're going to click on the button on the right of the window where you see a plus sign. Here. You're going to click on it and you're going to click Extract from Image. This will open a small overlay called Adobe Capture. And I'm going to make a short stop here because Adobe Capture is also an app for your phone where you can use your phone camera in order to capture the palettes or patterns or textures from everything that the camera is looking at. So for example, you're looking at a beautiful sunset and you want to paint it later, you can just use that app in order to get the color palette from it. Anyway, back to Photoshop. Once you are in the Adobe Capture overlay, you can just go to Color Themes. And as you can see, the app is already choosing some color schemes for me. So you can choose one of these color moods that is being offered here, or you can also just drag if you want some other color that you're not interested in. I'm not interested in this white, for example, I'm more interested in this. Or more interested, or maybe in this part of the illustration. I have the reds, I have this green that I want, I have this orange. No, I don't want this orange, I want something like this. And then you just click Save to CC Libraries. I can just keep on going, or I can just close this. If I just choose a brush or a bucket, I can just click on it and I will choose the color that I want to paint in. There's a lot of other painting software that have similar tools to this one. You can do this in Procreate, you can do it in Fresco, you can do it in Clip Studio. You just have to Google how to actually do it, but you can do it. So now that I had a color palette that I liked, I painted over each layer of my original image and I went from something like this to something like this. Now let's be honest here, between the themes and the colors, it almost feels like I'm ripping that image off, but it still looks so much better, doesn't it? And don't worry, I'm going to try other color palettes right away so I can show you that you can do this with any color palette that you want. So I chose another image. This one by Kim Smith. I like this color palette. I extracted it using the same app that I just showed you. And now I have this. And while I really like how it looks, I don't think that it helps the mood of the image. I mean, this girl is supposed to be scary and running away from something, and she doesn't realize that the whole forest is shaped like the wolf is always there in the forest chasing her. But the color palette doesn't say that at all. But it still looks good, it's still a very well-balanced, well-colored image. So I thought, like, how far can I go with this? And I tried to search for these sort of neon pink and violet sort of cyberpunk vibes that had nothing to do with the idea of painting in a forest. But I found these images that sort of have this color palette that I was looking for anyway, and that happened to be in forest. So I extracted the color palette and I did this. And it works! I know that it might be a very big contrast with the previous image, but it still works. Now I wanted to give it a sunset. I have these two images by E.C. Burton, and I extracted the palette and I just did it. And now look at it. So much different from the previous one, but it still works. And finally, I tried to use this image with a lot of muted grays and greens. I got this as a result, and I like it so much. The orange for the accent contrasting with the greens, the really muted color palette except for the orange, all these grays. And well, see, there are two things that I just mentioned that I want to talk about for the rest of the video. And this will help you a lot when trying to apply a color palette. The first thing, and you've seen this in almost every of the images that I just showed you, is that most of the color palettes are just comprised of two colors and one accent color. So let's look at it again. Two colors, one accent. Two colors, one color with the blue, two with these variations of the orange and yellows, one accent on the red. Pink and this darker pink, almost violet, then two blues and yellow for the accent. And this one, two grays, two greens, orange for the accent. Two colors and an accent. Oh, but what about the analogous one? Oh, you mean this one? Okay, here comes the second rule. When in doubt about what color to use in parts of the illustration, go for gray. And if you don't believe me, just search for any illustration that you like and you see that there are moments where there are patches of gray. Maybe they won't feel like gray because it will be like very desaturated colors, or maybe because in contrast with the other colors surrounding the gray, you will feel like if this is a gray surrounded by red, you will feel like it is more blue than it actually is. And if you go back and see the images that I just showed you today, you can see that I use a lot of gray in parts where I want the eye to rest a bit, because I want you to focus on the girl, so the rest of the foliage and the bushes and the rock are going to be like pretty desaturated, really leaning into the gray. So if you don't think that this is practical enough and you don't want to steal palettes from any other illustrator, which I still think that you should do, I'm going to give you a very short step by step so you can use this very easy, two colors, one accent, and focusing on the grays, okay? So this is what you're going to do, okay? First, you're going to choose an accent color, but that is what is going to be the focus of the illustration. If it's a character that is going to have like pink hair, you go for pink, and that's it. That's where you want the eye to focus most on. Then you need to choose a background color, a background where you're going to choose to fill the rest of your illustration so you can start painting over that color. It is usually very helpful to choose an analog color. Like if you're going to go for red for your accent color, you just go for green for the background color. It doesn't have to be a very powerful green. It can be a very desaturated one leaning into grays, so you can add more color as you paint things on top of it. And then you choose a third color, which can be either very close to the background color that you choose, or it can be on the opposite end. So for example, it can be if you're going to use a red accent and you want a green background, you can also sort of use yellow or orange if you want. But remember that in order to have it not clash with the accent color, just try to keep them very desaturated. And if that's not enough, I'm going to tell you even more simple. Two colors, one accent, and remember to use grays. And if you like someone else's color palette, just take it. And if after doing all of this, you still hate your art, well, I have something to tell you in the next video, and it's going to be right here.